Love podcasts, hate nonsense. It's the Politics Joe podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo!
Delicious. They don't join us in with the applause anymore.
No, I think, well, peek behind the curtain, it's just Ollie Johnson and Sean today, and they're the least enthusiastic members of the production team. It must be said.
Well, it depends what they're up to back there. Sometimes they are enthusiastic.
Mm-hmm. In making love to each other.
I think we're less than a minute in.
Excellent.
Ed, how are you, other than looking fucking swole?
Apart from that, it's a pretty good day, brother.
Yeah.
How are you? You've just come from an exciting shoot.
Yes. Annual review with Ian Hislop in the bank.
Are you not a bit premature? There's 6 weeks left of this year.
So it was this. I did it quicker this year because last year certain outlets tried to copy the idea and ran interviews with him. I think our headline format is reviewing adjective of 2024 with Ian Hislop, and several other outlets did reviewing. I think last year we called the insanity of 2023. And several other outlets did like reviewing the insane year that was 2023, or Ian Hislop reviews. So I've punched it in early.
Yep.
So they can't have a slice of our pie.
But if that pattern continues,
We'll record it in August.
Yes, or even June, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll do quarterly reviews.
That'd be good.
It's like an appraisal.
You're Ian Hislop's line manager now.
Yeah.
What is KPIs? Sell more magazines, I guess.
Yeah. Slightly more and more and more evocative ties.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would probably what I'm asking for. And well, I guess if I was line managing him, I would make him give me a slot on Have I Got News For You.
I think that would be a violation. That'd be an HR violation. I must say, you can't extort as a line managee. You forced me to give you something that you wanted.
What is management if not extortion?
That's so true, actually. God, capitalism, eh?
Yeah, so that's coming soon. I'm excited about that. That'll be good. Yeah, what have you been up to?
What have I been up to? Got an exciting video, which I think I've had to convince you is exciting over the course of a wee while.
It's your chemsex thing.
Yeah. So that's not really a video, I suppose. That's more a lifestyle choice, I guess. No, about forever chemicals in the UK. And I've got working with a friend of the podcast, Jem, about an exciting way to shoot it.
Do we call our colleagues friends of the podcast?
Yeah, so friends of the podcast now are Tom Holland, Dominic Sandbrook and Jem.
Great. Well, I'm excited about that. When you're going to file that? What's the timeline looking like?
So far, some other developments so far. Probably
this year?
Or perhaps. well, actually, no.
There's 6 weeks.
But if I release it in January, then you and Ian could review it.
We could in our Q1 appraisal.
Yeah.
Small goings on in Westminster as well. That's where. Well, Ava's not there. She's in the office cutting her report from Westminster for the farmers' protest. But
yes.
She has been there today.
With a lot of people, with 10,000 farmers.
10,000 bloody
That's
farmers.
That's the estimate from the Met.
10,000 bloody old farmers and their tractors.
And a lot of journalists dressed like farmers.
Yes.
Which is an interesting tactic.
What, to like earn the trust of your subject?
Yeah, because
I saw Farage was looking like a farmer.
Yeah, which I think I
is that stolen valor?
Well, he shouldn't be winning those medals as well. But I do think there is a theory of journalism is dress like the people you're trying to interview, so they trust you. But I did see one
Campbell's theorem.
I was advised to do that outside of NatCon.
That's why you've come as a yoked man to this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I will trust you more. As a jacked man myself.
Outside one of the NatCon conferences, we got talking to this, I think he was a male photographer, and he was there doing like a street style thing of young Tories. And he was wearing a checked shirt tucked into jeans and a barber jacket. And it was me and our old friend of the podcast, Harry, who...
No longer a friend of the podcast.
No, ex-friend of the podcast, enemy of the podcast now. But I was wearing like cargo pants and a sweatshirt. Harry was wearing shorts and a backwards baseball cap. And he was like, they will not talk to you because you don't look anything like them. You don't look like people they socialise with. So just psychologically, you've put them off by doing this.
Yeah.
So, but then also, did the lobby journalists need to wear wellies? Or was that overkill?
You definitely don't need to wear wellies in fucking Westminster.
No.
It's not muddy there.
No, it was snowy, slushy.
Yeah, I find it amusing that the farmers will obviously be relishing the fact that it was a slightly sleety day in central London and that would miff the journalists in attendance. And it's a little bit of, oh, is it hard, is it? Is it hard?
Oh, it's work hard.
Hard working in bad weather, is it?
Is it hard work outside? How would you like it if the government stole your money?
I don't know if she was wearing wellies, but I saw Victoria Derbyshire giving Jeremy Clarkson.
She had the shepherd's crook.
Well, naturally, yeah. That's how she interviewed him, actually. She crooked him. She crooked him in. But she asked him the question that I wanted someone to ask him about, literally stating that he wanted to get a farm for inheritance tax purposes.
And now he's angry about having to pay inheritance tax.
Furious.
Yeah.
Furious. So I was glad to see that. But there was a right old scrum for him. I think I saw Chorley. Matt Chorley was in there with getting his mic in there. Same for Farage. Yeah, very busy media day.
Media presence. It's good. Well, it's just visually striking, isn't it? And also, well, is it the Economist's rule of picking a fight? Don't pick a fight with a job that's in a children's book, because it's easy to understand and easy to sympathise with.
Interesting.
Because I think, like, if you pick a fight with doctors, nurses, train drivers, all these jobs you understand.
Fucking pick a fight with fucking KPMG.
Yeah. Why are you not picking a fight with asset managers?
Pick a fight with the consultants.
Pick a fight with BlackRock, whatever they do.
Don't pick a fight with BlackRock.
No, maybe don't.
You might disappear.
But I think there is a overwhelming sympathy for farmers because people understand what it.
Do you think there is sympathy for them?
I think there is. I think people think, oh, farmers make food. We eat food. Good. That's actually if the NFU want to.
It's precise of a regular person, isn't there? A fucking idiot. Food, good.
Have you not met them? People are all. Do you know what people love to do? People love to have a delicious meal and go yum 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 yum.
You're right. I like doing that.
They love to take a big drink of orange squash and go ah.
Yeah. They do be doing that. Not sure the citrus farms of Yorkshire have contributed much to Robinson's squash production, but I take your point nonetheless. Is there actually any fruit in squash, actually? It's probably all chemicals.
We're going to have to get a right reply from Robinson's.
Well, I wasn't suggesting that Robinson's didn't have any fruit content, Ed, but now we will.
I'm sure Robinson's would add that they have plenty of fruit content.
I'll stick it on screen. It'll be what it is. Yeah, look, I think there's a lack of sympathy from sort of
ardent labourers.
Yes, and people that don't or have never had experience of living in like a remotely rural place. Some people cannot comprehend how you can be as asset rich as some of these farmers are, but still be as poor as they are, because they make most of the time very little to no fucking money, like at all, and it's brutal work. During the harvest, you'll be working like 18-hour days, longer days on the combine. You can get written off by the weather. It's completely out of your control, and that can mean that you actually, not only do you make no money, you're actually in debt for a year. It's really hard work, and I'm a big proponent of inheritance tax, I do think there's a reason there's an exception for agriculture, because it's not as simple as a business. It's not as simple as asset wealth. They farm the land and they try to make money out of it. They eke a living out of it. It's brutal work, and additionally, it's not, it's not a bullshit job. Is it Rutger Bregman who has that phrase? I can't remember who started bullshit jobs, but it's not a job that if they went on strike, no one would notice.
Yeah.
it's very much, and it's very important. I would say it's actually probably one of the most pressing issues of our time, that we have a pretty serious level of food security, because in a time that's increasingly characterised by what you used to call black swan events, but now appear to have increasing frequency and actual severity because of how interconnected our world is, how globalised our world is. Things like pandemics like COVID-19 happen all the more frequently. And you saw what happened very quickly with things like PPE production in China, where to the point where actually they, even if they've signed contracts with people, they just don't honour them, and they go, no, terribly sorry, but actually, the fact that there's now a global pandemic happening, we're voiding the contract and we're keeping the stock for ourselves. And if you get in a situation where a significant portion of your food production happens outside of the country because you've chased farmers out of the occupation, and what I mean when I say that is basically no one wants to be a farmer. It is just the children of farmers. And if you force them to carve up the family farm in order to carry on doing it, I expect what they are most likely to do is just go, well, fuck it, let's sell the whole thing. Let them build houses, let them put a solar farm, whatever it is they want to do here, let somebody else farm it. And if anyone is going to farm it, it will be, a massive agricultural corporation. It's not going to be somebody else, small-time farmers. You have to do everything you can to protect that, unfortunately. And if that means that they have an exemption from certain inheritance tax policies, then so be it.
I think the proponents of this tax would say that, large farms that qualify for the inheritance tax would have to be broken up and sold, and thus agricultural land would be cheaper. Yeah. And people who wanted to become farmers would then be able to become farmers. But I think the argument against that is, why on earth would they bother if it's so unprofitable? Yeah.
Look, and it's one of the biggest reasons why I sort of have sympathy for this policy is because in the instance of these ginormous, multi-thousand acre estates, sometimes literal estates, other times, as in like a country home or whatever, versus like an estate as someone's will, is that once you reach a certain scale, if you run a grouse moor or something else in Scotland that's over multi-thousand acres, you reach a point where the government subsidy just keeps you in riches for the rest of your life. You're getting, say, a million quid or whatever in subsidies for just having the land and keeping hold of it. And it's far better, from my perspective. You have to put some of it, if not all of it, up for sale. If nobody wants to buy it, the local council can buy it. And then guess what, Ed? You can scatter it with little 5-acre small holdings. For if you want, you like a nice council house, here you go, here's some land. Here's a cow, here's a couple of acres, fucking crack on, pal. So that's probably from where I have the most sympathy for it in terms of, because again, it is a relatively small number of farms who are actually affected by this in a significant way. I think there are other ways you can offset it as well with insurance, and I saw Dan Needle do some kind of tweet about ways you can offset and mitigate it.
But then on that as well, like, what is the point of allowing people to offset it? If you think that we need the £500 million per annum that you think this will generate, why would you leave loopholes?
Yeah.
Or if you're like, well, actually people can get out of this, why are you even bothering to pick this fight in the first place?
Yeah, and I think that's part of the political naivety of the Starmer government, because it is new and very few. Well, he's actually now starting to hire a lot more people with government experience from the new Labour years. But certainly, you look at the way that they've conducted themselves, picking fights with pensioners, with farmers.
Storybook characters. Do you know what children love?
Yeah.
Farms and their grandma.
Yeah. True. And I don't. It makes sense in your first year of government. That's when you raise taxes. That's when you do all the unpopular stuff, so that the memory of it is subsided when you get up to an election. That's the way governments around the world and in this country through history have conducted themselves. But it seems like small beer. Do you know what I mean? For the sake of, you've mobilised Clarkson. It's like, this is the last thing we wanted to happen. Frankenstein has awoken. The fucking Clarkson's farm cameras are there today.
Yeah.
When this drops on Amazon, it's going to fucking mobilise the dinos against the government, like in a ginormous way. It just seems to me, for the sake of 500 million quid,
it's an enormous fight to maybe lose.
Huge loss of political capital for possibly something relatively popular like a wealth tax.
Yep.
Just an idea.
Yeah. It is interesting how unpopular inheritance tax is.
People hate it.
But versus like what is it, 4% of estates are subject to inheritance tax. So it doesn't affect the vast majority of people.
Yeah.
But there is something like, I think something quite base about, the government are coming for things that I've worked all my life for.
Yeah.
It's the shared emotion of people want to provide for their children.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. My personal opinion is what right do they have to, a ginormous estate? And you might say, well, they're your children, so, they're entitled to what you own. But you're getting into, well, you get quickly into sort of the challenging of property rights, which underpin like our entire capitalist system. But I just think if you want to believe the capitalist lie about society being meritocratic, how on earth is it meritocratic that someone by dint of their birth inherits 50 million quid, or whatever it is? Warren Buffett, one of the richest men that the world has ever seen, is a ginormous proponent of inheritance tax. But he, genuinely, he says, he talks about meritocracy, but he also he says it's the equivalent if you wanted to pick, if the fucking San Francisco 49ers picked their team based on they selected selectively from the children of their team 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, the team would suck, right?
Yeah.
Because just because you're the child of someone doesn't mean you're going to be good at something else. And equally, if you want to have a meritocratic society, it doesn't stand to reason to say you are inevitably entitled to absolutely everything that your parents have done before you. I think it's sort of a great leveler, and I think it's probably the way actually you can effectively operate a wealth tax, because Dennis Healy, I think it was, looked into the actual function of a wealth tax and came to the conclusion that he would have to double the size of the civil service. The current size of the administrative state, when he was considering this idea, he would just trying to appraise the wealth of people in Britain every year for tax purposes. The size of the civil service would double just to staff this single department, and basically decided it was such a nightmarish logistical undertaking to be constantly appraising people. Like, it's not an easy task, right? It's far easier to just go at a defined moment in time, i.e. when someone dies, you go, how much have you got? And that's the point that you tax it at, rather than over the course of a year. There's loose tobacco all over the desk.
Is there?
Yeah.
Oh, we should tell somebody. Is it definitely tobacco? Has someone been smoking cannabis in the studio?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Been fucking sparking up.
Did you see Clarkson's line to Victoria Derbyshire about, well, you could save money by going into the civil service and firing everyone whose job you don't understand? So you're creating government efficiency based on one person's subjective understanding of government function. I wonder who that person would be.
Who could it be?
I think it might be Jeremy Clarkson. If Jeremy Clarkson doesn't understand like some really technical procurement role for energy or something, I'm afraid the energy department's gone.
Yeah, I genuinely think they've underestimated the political opposition they're going to experience over this. The Tories were all there. Ed
Davey was there.
Reform were there.
Yeah. Right-wing headbangers. Well, more. Right.
But actually, the fact that the Lib Dems, Reform, and the Tories are all there demonstrates to you that it's not just right-wing headbangers, right?
No. Sorry, but what was kind of I was finding entertaining was there was like far-right people there trying to co-opt it.
Right.
And anecdotally, I saw a journalist tweet that the farmers got quite aggy with the far-right people because they thought they were anti-fox hunting protesters. I don't know how that misunderstanding occurred, but they got quite aggy with the skinheads.
Nice. Yeah, I guess the aesthetics of the new right sort of overlap a little bit with like the environmental crusties that like the hunt sabs that are disrupting the fox hunts that go on, as they may have mistaken their brothers in arms for their worst enemies.
But you're right. I think like you had Caroline Bowden, the new MP for Totnes, the new Lib Dem MP for Totnes, out making an appearance.
Victoria Atkins was wearing a Union Jack suit jacket.
That was a tough. That wasn't a very nice jacket.
I should just call it a Union jacket, shouldn't I?
Yeah. Well, now I like it.
Great.
It was quite Katie Hopkinsy.
Well, it reminds me of there's a guy who was at all of the Brexit marches and stuff that went on 2016 through, and he wore a full Union Jack. He had the suit jacket, but he had the trousers, and he also had a bowler hat, and then he had Kanye shades that were also
Union Jack.
Union Jack. Like he was full Union Jack, top to bottom.
Oh.
You almost certainly would have bumped into him.
Was he pro Brexit?
Yeah, massive. Yeah, how did you know?
I don't know. What an interesting guy just protesting in favour of Brexit. Or was it a counter demonstration to all the...
Yeah, well, it's just whatever.
Remain.
Whatever was happening, he was there.
That's cool.
Yeah, rock on.
People are sick.
People are sick.
We should invest in some full Union jackets.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe some Union trousers as well.
But I think probably tomorrow when we pod, I think Ava will obviously be able to speak from the horse's mouth. She will be able to provide us with the message, the farmer's message.
Yeah. I'm laughing at there. This is completely off topic.
Let's go.
But you said horses.
Yeah.
So, Sean's laughing already. I saw a TikTok of it was about, I think it was Variety, had like done an interview with a person who taught Paul Mescal to ride a horse.
Right.
And basically the woman was saying how good he was at riding horses, and he'd built up like a really special connection with the animals. And someone commented basically saying, I'm Irish. And we're taught to revere horses in our culture, and we all have like a special connection with horses. And I was reading it, I was like, is that just like an insanely racist thing to say about Irish people? Is that they're all like rural and have this magical connection to horses? Maybe not racist, but I was like, you're reducing Irishness to being like a rural magical farmer with magical powers who has an innate affinity to horses. So since then, I forwarded it on to Sean, and since then, I've just been sending him photos of horses saying, "You're mate."
That's great. That's great chat. That's great banter. Can they talk to horses?
Sean, can you talk to horses? Yes. He says yes.
Well, there you go. So it's not racist. It's true.
It's true.
Can't be racist if it's true, brother.
Anyway, here's my thoughts about poles.
Can you ride a horse?
No, can you?
I've ridden a horse, but no, I can't.
I
Can't ride a horse.
I've been like pony trekking as a child, but I don't think I've done like once.
I would like to be able to ride a horse. I think it'd be sick.
This was actually in Ireland that I was. So maybe they are talking to horses over there. We were on a family holiday in Ireland, and we were on pony trekking, and one horse had a wee girl on it, and the horse rolled over, like with the wee girl on her back. And
How was she after that?
I think she was fine, but like I think
A full-grown horse.
that was luck. And
They're quite heavy, aren't they?
then
I'm led to believe.
instead of the Irish person giving it a talking to in like instructive language, which I'm sure the horse would have appreciated more, the trainer just like booted the horse in the neck.
Kicked it?
It was like really quite violent.
What's your view of that, Sean?
No, fucking hell, I wasn't even listening.
Yeah,
He was too busy. He was sending his horse friend to voice.
They're fucking talking about us again. The Brits are at it again. They don't understand.
They don't understand our horse love.
Voice note in response.
The IRA was the Irish Riders Association. Not rides, riders.
I feel like that would fuck you up.
Yeah, horse rolling on you.
A horse rolling
Holy
on
shit,
you. They're big.
Yeah. It might be
Have you ever seen a Clydesdale? I feel like I've done this
Yeah.
bit on the pod before.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't
Have
think
you
I
seen like draft horses before?
I've seen big horses. I don't know if they were specifically a draft horse.
Brother. You want to see something fucking cool?
Is it a big horse?
Oh, yeah.
Is it one of Sean's friends?
Sean knows them. I'm only on data here for some
Oh
reason.
no. For the listener, Ollie's just Googling horses.
Yeah. You kind of want it next to a person, though, don't you?
For context.
Yeah. Sorry. Human scale.
Human scale Clydesdale.
How many hands? I'm actually
Mr.
going...
Hands.
That's inappropriate.
Why? Maybe he was Irish. Holy shit! Oh my god!
That's
massive.
That's a Percheron.
Oh my god! That's like double the height of the woman.
Yeah.
I do think. Well,
I think she's quite small, to be fair, but they're absolute fucking units.
I think
there you go. Yeah.
The only time I see, oh my god, the only time I see horses is like police horses, and police horses are massive. Still.
Yeah, they could well be actually. I don't know what breed, species, presumably breed of horse.
Genre.
Yeah, that's what genre of horse does the Met Police use? What horse race? That's a different thing actually.
We're going to get into measuring horse skulls at one point.
Some police horse breed. Police horses used are typically either half thoroughbred and half draft breed, or 3/4 thoroughbred and 1/4 draft. So there you go.
It's quite specific.
The Dutch warm blood is a verse. Sounds deeply suspect. Sounds a little bit far right for my liking.
Have you ever eaten a horse before?
No. Have you?
Yes.
They do use Clydesdales.
Oh, that's cool.
Police horses in the UK are typically crossbreeds, combining the qualities, but they do use Clydesdale. Sorry, you can tell when you ate a horse once upon a time. They have Percherons. The Percheron is a cold-blooded French horse.
So it's a reptile. What is that? Does that mean it's like ruthless?
Yeah, either means it's a stone-cold killer, or that it needs the sun to warm up and function.
It's absolutely vicious.
It's known for its power and strength. These majestic horses have large builds and impressive stature, marking them top choices for mounted police. The Irish Draft. There's Sean's pal.
That's one of Sean's in that photo.
Belgian Draft.
Well, even if it's Belgian, Sean could still talk to it.
Thoroughbred. A Dutch warm blood.
That's a
very
nicer
eugenic
one.
sounding.
Yeah. Dutch warm blood. That's what like the Nazis called Belgian people.
Anyway, sorry, go on. What did horse taste like?
So I was in Plovdiv in Bulgaria, and we went to the nicest restaurant in Plovdiv, and it was very cheap. And I saw on the menu there was like a horse casserole, and I thought I've never eaten horse before. I'll probably never see horse presented on the menu again.
You're going to engage with the culture.
So I'm going to engage with the culture. So it was horse sausage, and I don't really know if I like the taste of the spices or if I like the taste of the horse. I probably did like the taste of the horse. I'll be honest, I'm a meat guy. But my vegetarian friends, I think there's 2 or 3, they all tried the horse as well because they were like, well, you're eating
because they're vegetarian.
Yeah, and horses are plants.
Cold-blooded plants.
Cold-blooded plants. But they're like, well, this is fine. We're not going to eat it all the time. So they wanted to try it. I thought it was quite good.
What did it taste like?
Like
the meat.
Like a tougher beef.
Well,
maybe?
that sounds delicious.
It was quite good. It was like, I think it was kind of, probably just because it was a sausage, but it was kind of jerky in texture. And like beef jerky. Horse jerky in this case, I suppose.
Well, I guess a horse isn't a million miles away from like a fucking like gazelle or something that they would make biltong out of.
I wonder why we don't eat horses. Is it because they're useful?
It's the Irish.
It's the powerful Irish horse lobby.
When it came out that Finders had been putting horse in lasagna, the Irish picketed Finders for years, and ever since then, no one's dared to butcher a horse on British soil.
It's interesting that the Irish have had such cultural sway over Britain and such power to get the Brits to do what they want.
It's ironic, really. Yeah.
Yeah, especially just on that one issue.
Have you ever heard of the Ancient Order of Hibernians?
Sean's asking, have we ever heard of the Ancient Order of Hibernians? No.
He's really making a play for a production, Mike, with this behaviour. Go on, mate. What is it?
It's like an Illuminati style thing. It's a deeper conspiracy theory than the Illuminati, and the whole thing is that I think it's based off of like the big banks in America are all run by Irish guys. Like the CEOs of the main banks in America at the moment are Irish, and so it's very much similar to like an Illuminati like international conspiracy, and Irish people are behind it.
So we can cut that.
I thought that was going to be a story about conspiracy theorists who believe that horses run the world.
They won't have heard a bit of that. So there's a conspiracy theory that deeper than the
Irish
Illuminati,
people,
that
yeah.
Irish people run the world because all the CEOs of the banks in America are Irish. And something called the Ancient Order of
Hibernians.
So, do we think Irish people run the world? Are we pro or anti-Irish on this podcast?
Pro, obviously.
Pro?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, the killing of horses for human consumption is widely opposed in countries such as the US, the UK, and Greece, where horses are generally considered to be companion and sporting animals only.
I wonder why that developed.
I've got a quote here. Food historian Dr. Annie Gray agrees that... oh, fuck. Using the internet now is so painful.
Yeah, Google's bad, I'm afraid.
You might call it enshittification, mightn't you?
You mightn't.
Right, I got it back. So, Dr. Annie Gray agrees the primary reasons for not eating horses were their usefulness as beast of burden and their association with poor or horrid conditions of living.
So pigs live in shit, and we eat them.
Pigs are actually quite clean animals.
They're also quite nasty.
Yeah.
They eat
They're
each
very
other.
intelligent. Yeah, they do eat each other. They crush each other quite a lot as well.
Yeah, but they are delicious.
Fucking hell do they taste good.
What's your favourite meat?
Pork.
Is it? I think I'm a beef man.
You're looking beefy today, sir, so that makes sense.
Thank you. Speaking of two absolute hunks of meat, did you watch Jake Paul, Mike Tyson? King of the Segway returns.
Great work. I watched Mike Tyson's ass as he walked away from an interview. Have you seen that clip?
I think of just as him looking thick with two C's.
You haven't seen his ass?
I think I've seen it. It's not just hanging out his arse.
Yeah.
Hanging out, whatever. It's not just it looking massive.
He's doing a TV interview.
Right.
And then when the interview finishes, he turns and walks away, and it transpires that he's just been wearing a jockstrap and a cup, and he hasn't got boxers on underneath, and so it's just his bare butt as he walks off into the distance.
Do people still wear jockstraps?
He clearly does.
But as in, like, I think it's such a 90s thing. I wonder why we stopped wearing them.
That would make, to be fair, that would be on brand for him.
Yeah, he probably wore one in every fight. But
no, I didn't see any of the fight because it started whilst I was on air on LBC.
Fair. And you didn't do a live watch along?
No, we didn't do a live watch along. We did reference it a couple of times, but no. I saw some of the Taylor Serrano fight beforehand, which was fucking class, and I posed the question of why. Imagine how it feels to be like genuinely one of the best female boxers of all time, fighting underneath that freak show.
Yeah.
And particularly because, by all accounts, it was a pretty underwhelming fight between Tyson and Paul.
I think ultimately the only people who won from that fight were Tyson and Paul. They could have...
Well, I suppose that's actually a good outcome because usually one of them wins and one of them loses.
Oh, true. Oh, I think technically Paul won, I guess, but they've just they're millions and millions of pounds richer.
Yeah.
And I think what's interesting is the disposability of this.
Oh yeah.
In that so much hype has gone into this event. This was a seismic event. People who don't really like boxing, people who like boxing but don't like influencer boxing. People were talking about this, and now it's happened, and no one's ever going to talk about it again. Yeah, it's a completely disposable event, and I think it's interesting that I think it speaks to the kind of the creator. People talk about the creator economy, and there was a really good line in The Fence where Clive Martin went to like an advertising convention, and people were giving a presentation about like how to work with creators, and Clive Martin wrote, "They're talking about KSI like he's Stanley Kubrick, and no one here thinks that's weird." So we've given millions of pounds, made people incredibly famous and incredibly influential, who are creative. They are creating something, but they're not creating anything lasting. You have these people churning out content, but it's having no lasting influence.
That hits home, yeah.
Apart from PoliticsJOE videos.
Yeah, we're actually the exception that proves the rule.
No, but I think like, I guess we are part of it, but I think we haven't. Well, I'd like to think we have more of an impact than us doing like a Chubby Bunnies challenge.
What's that?
Educational value, informational value.
No, sorry. What's the challenge?
What's the Chubby Bunnies challenge?
Yeah.
Do you not know what Chubby Bunnies challenge is?
No, brother.
Okay, we can maybe do one. It's when you put as many marshmallows in your mouth,
Right.
and just try and speak. I think it's quite like 2016 YouTube coded.
Okay.
So
that's on brand for us.
Yes, absolutely. We're behind the times, but I think that was a massive fight, seemingly, and there's been absolutely no legacy of it. And if you look at all the content that the biggest creators in the world make, it's all disposable. They put something out, like even if you look at like the Sidemen, make a video a week. There's a documentary on Netflix about it, but like once it's out, hands off. There's nothing lasting. It's not. It doesn't lead to anything else. There's no developments from it. It's not forging a new culture in any way. There's not like a dominant. Nothing being made is influential.
I guess that's pretty neatly representative of our cultural, political, and consumerist lives now, which is that everything is built to last for about 30 seconds. And then you buy another one, and then you get another one, then you listen to another podcast, then you buy another iPhone, then, you get a different Tory leader. It probably doesn't quite work in that same way.
Oh, shoehorned in that.
And I guess that's kind of the point, that people can't be in a permanent state of consumption if you deliver them things that retain and hold either meaning or use beyond like a limited shelf life. I find it amazing. I moved into my my house. The guy that lived there had lived there for like 50 years, and the dishwasher that's in there is the same one. It's about 40 years old, and it still works like a charm, because back then consumer goods were built to last. The reason it was a significant financial outlay. Your reputation as a brand relied on the fact that your goods were reliable, that they had a long shelf life. That's not the case anymore. People want bells and whistles, and they want... there's a really interesting section. I think it was it in Frostbite by Nicola Twilley? She interviewed people that make fridges, and they were trying to figure out how they can make people buy a new fridge when ostensibly the actual refrigeration technology in the fridge can run pretty much ad nauseum for decades. So that's how you end up with sort of, crisper drawers and new door styles, like French door style fridges and all that kind of thing. Because you have to find ways to make consumers buy something either that they don't need, or the other way, which is the more cynical way that a lot of sort of other manufacturers go, is that they just create things that will break. That the warranty on is 18 months. After 3 or 4 years, you do well if you haven't needed to repair it. Contrast that, I think it's like a Worcester Bosch maybe, I can't remember what brand it is, this fucking 40-year-old dishwasher. Contrast it with my washing machine that I bought, which is a Samsung. I've had to have someone repair it twice in the 5 years that I've owned it.
Jesus.
And it's a fucking fancy little thing. But that's the way it's designed, because that way you probably buy a new one. That's how you get in this perpetual... It's probably the defining thing I would say about our modern society, actually, is its consumerism.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And it extends, I guess, all the way through now, from retail goods all the way up to sport, content creation. Do we think the great novel is still safe?
I think it is. It kind of just makes me sad, believe it or not.
It should make you sad, yeah.
Because they talk about, the legacy media is dead. We're just transitioning to a phase where everyone's an independent creator on these platforms. But if we're beholden to these platforms and these algorithms, then like you're rewarded for the amount of content that you produce. So if you're just churning, you're making less thoughtful content and stuff that you're maybe less proud of, that would have taken less time. And if that extends to the entire media, then are we just killing Are we just killing art? Is Mr. Beast the greatest director of all time?
Probably not.
Probably not. As well, I do agree with that. But
Controversial, I know.
opinion. I don't think Mr. Beast.
I'm actually a bit of a contrarian.
I don't think Mr. Beast would make a very good film.
I'm sure he'll have a go at it. Right. I'm happy.
Are you?
Yeah, well, no.
No, that was depressing.
But I'm happy with this record.
Yes.
I think we could draw a line under it.
I think they've learned something. And make sure to unsubscribe from the Politics Joe channel.
Meaningless. It's all meaningless.
Defund this model. Defund Politics Joe and the police. All content creators are bastards.
All content creators are... Yeah, it's still ACAB.
That's why I said that one.
Cool.
I thought of that first.
Right, I'm burnt out. Right, let's wrap it up there, Ed Campbell. A pleasure to see you as always.
A pleasure to see you.
Thank you for listening. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.